You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better plan up. Cause the profits here now. You better plan up. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits here now. See hanging on the corner, see hanging on the streets. Some other run up on you, someday you never see. I got that Bible on me, don't need no gun. You got them questions, I get it like everyone. Looking like I come for war, even when I come in peace. 3 times I prayed to the Lord, 3 times I turn to these. Pop out to the club, sipping on that cup. Everything you do, I done did and I gave it up. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better plan up. Cause the profits here now. You better plan up. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits here now. Making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better plan up. Cause the profits here now. You better plan up. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits here now. So you think you a man, cause you pushing them drugs, while I'm taking care of my family and showing them love. And you thinking you high, well I'm thinking you not. Cause what really makes you a man is keeping the laws of God. Wait a minute, let me tell the truth. Life and death is set before you, what you gon' do. And if you wanna get them demons from above you, and I suggest you start repenting, man. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. Cause the profits here now. Profits here, yeah. You better man. Cause the profits here now. We the saviors of the town. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better plan up. Cause the profits here now. You better plan up. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits here now. See hanging on the corner, see hanging on the streets. Some other run up on you, someday you never see. I got that Bible on me, don't need no gun. You got them questions, I get it like everyone. Looking like I come for war, even when I come in peace. 3 times I prayed to the Lord, 3 times I turn to these. Pop out to the club, sipping on that cup. Everything you do, I done did and I gave it up. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better plan up. Cause the profits here now. You better plan up. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits here now. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corners, but the profits here, so boy, you better plan up. Cause the profits here now. You better plan up. Hey, bring that out. Cause the profits here now. So you think you a man, cause you pushing them drugs, while I'm taking care of my family and showing them love. And you thinking you high, well I'm thinking you not. Cause what really makes you a man is keeping the laws of God. Wait a minute, let me tell the truth. Life and death is set before you, what you gon' do. And if you wanna get them demons from above you, and I suggest you start repenting, man. You've been making violence, killing brothers with your riders, selling drugs up on the corner. is here, yeah. You better man up. We the saviors of the town.
Hey, Shalom Israel. Welcome back to Man Up Monday. Man Up Monday. All right. So today we got a topic with the black man's guide to understanding his nature. It has how society has shaped him. So once again, today's topic is the black man's guide to understanding his nature. Now, one thing what you're going to realize is the black man has been defined in his masculinity by his woman. For example, this is something. Women tend to want to shape a black man because he has yet to be defined or deemed as a man in society. She creates her version of what she thinks a man should be based upon her experience with other nations as she makes adjustments and altering his characteristics, which fits her likes and wants but not needs. So I'll say it again. This is important because one thing we fail to realize is a lot of times your masculinity and your definition of a man, a lot of time is defined by your woman and her respect that she has for you. I'll say it again. Women tend to want to shape a black man because he has yet to be defined or deemed as a man in society. She creates her version of what she thinks a man should be based upon her experience with other nations as she makes adjustments and altering his characteristics, which fits her likes and wants but not needs. Can you give me the image? So the black man in society has not been defined as a masculine character or figure and one to be followed. You see this in the 1960s. If you notice the difference between all the men walking, all the black men now, this is from a strike, I believe, a bus strike. No, not a bus strike. This was from garbage disposal strike. I think 2 black men died in a garbage pickup, in a garbage truck, and they went on strike. So one of the things you notice here, all the men are walking saying, I am a man. Now, if you are something, why do you have to define that you are something if you're already a man? Think about it. You have genitals, you have balls, you have penis, you have male organs. So why do you have to tell another man that you are a man? And you notice how the white man walking, he doesn't have that sign because society already defines him as a man based upon his position. Now, give me the next image. So in the American Constitution, now they argue it and say that, oh, no, that's not the case. It was taken out of, blown out of proportion. It was taken out of context that the black man was deemed on the American Constitution as 3/5 of a man. They say that's not true. Now, I'm going to show you that. Cyborg. What is he made out of? Metals. So he's 3/5 of the man, meaning you're not fully a man. Let's go to the next one. Jax. Look at him. And they place it right before us. They don't respect us as men in society. Let's go to the next one. Now, this is from Jupiter Uprising. When he came into power, when he got his powers, no disabilities, he was perfectly fine. When he got older, all the superheroes retained their powers. He was the only one that became crippled. And he appointed another woman. I'll say it again. He appointed the black woman in his place. Showing you that as time went by, the positions and roles reversed. The black woman leading and the black man on the bottom. Crippled. 3/5 of the man not even deemed or classified in the eyesight of his woman or throughout in the eyesight of other nations as a man. Look at that. Strong, healthy, and able, fit, powerful. As he gets older, the old lion, look at him, crippled, unable. The woman has to take his place in position and power and authority. And now, like I said, this was all a plot and a ploy by the powers that be and able to successfully recreate the image of a man, which they continually shaped throughout time, throughout public humiliation, book breaking, as well as public lynching. Get me Willie Lynch. So this is nothing new. This has been in the works, in the making ever since, like I said, the slave ships docked the shores of America. You got it?
The Negro Marriage Unit. We breed 2 nigger males with 2 nigger females. Then we take the nigger males away from them and keep them moving and working. Say the nigga female bears a nigga female, and the other bears a nigga male. Both nigga females being without influence of the nigga male image, frozen with an independent psychology, will raise their offspring into reverse positions. The one with the female offspring will teach her to be like herself, independent and negotiable. We negotiate with her, through her, by her, and negotiate her at will. The one with the nigga male offspring, she being frozen with a subconscious fear for his life, will raise him to be mentally dependent and weak, but physically strong.
But physically strong for good economics. So you see the breaking of the black male image in society, they do it all the time. Anytime a man tries to stand up and proclaim some type of self-importance or masculinity, take his position and power and role in a household or leader or pillar within the nation, they always find a way to bring the black male image down. And so the woman, what they see is they see the broken black male image, and in response, for the woman not wanting their young child to go through the same conditions, she makes him weak so that he's accepted in society. And there's certain, I will say, there are certain rewards that society gives you for acting effeminate, broken, and weak, but mentally or fit, but physically strong. Let's start out with Isaiah chapter 51, verse 23. So as men coming back, we have to understand our role, our position, our nature from the creation, and what happened to us and how we became what we are today. Read.
Isaiah chapter 51, verse 23. But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over.
So the white man or the dominant rule in society, they said to our souls, bow down, meaning to your soul. They're speaking to your spirit, because that's why they try to reshape us, re-identify and classify us. Because think about it, if they could break us, if they could take away that man's purpose and his responsibility in the household, they could break that man. So they speak to our souls saying what?
Bow down.
Bow down. You're not enough. You're not man enough to be able to rule your household. You're not a man enough to protect your woman. That's why we gotta have a position of authority of another race to protect your woman. If something happens, guess what? Your woman has the power to call 911 and look for protection outside of the man. So it said to your soul, you're not man enough to take care of your woman. Read it again.
But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down.
Bow down, sit down. You're not a man. You're 3/5 of the man. That's why they show it in your TV, your media. They seen it in Superman or Justice League and Mortal Kombat and Jupiter's Rising. They show you the image of what they depict what the black man should be like. They tell the black man that you're not a man. You're just a wage slave. Your position in society to use your masculine energy. I'm not talking about your masculinity. I'm talking about the energy that you get from being a man. And your physicality, your biology makeup that makes you a man. I want you to use that to build my society. But I don't want you to lead as a man with that masculine energy. I don't want you to be the man that you was created like everybody else is. I don't want you to provide. I don't want you to protect. I don't want you to care. I want you to be the man that we created you to be. Go on.
Bow down, that we may go over.
That we may go over thee. And that's why nobody respects us. That's why everybody walks over us. They can shoot us down in the street. The police, when they come to the door, they go to the older woman, or they give the woman certain benefits over the man because they don't respect us. They don't honor us. They neglect us. Go on.
And thou hast laid thy body as the ground.
And we allow it. We allow them to take our woman. We allow them to dictate our households. We allow them to define what a man is. And that's why you have a lot of men walking around today, black men particularly. I'm not saying that other men do it, because that's the ulterior agenda of the elites, is to weaken and effeminize all men in general. Because why? So they could get whatever plots or agenda they have in store. They could easily accomplish it. Because why? Because you have weak men. Nobody to stand up and fight back. That's why you have a lot of your Black Lives Matter was led by who? Women, lesbian women, and gay men. We seen it a couple of weeks ago. You had, it was an issue with the school system when they was taking out black history out of the schools. And where were the men? It was all women, teenage women, on the forefront, arguing and debating the cause of them taking, the reason for them taking the black history out of the school system. Women have taken a position and responsibility as the road, as the leaders of the nation, because the black men have allowed the white man to walk all over us, to define what a man is, and to put us at the bottom to walk over us. We allowed it. Go on.
And thou hast said, lay thy body as the ground, and as the street to them that went over.
And we said, they says, lay thy body as the ground. You're only used as free labor, slave labor. That's all your purpose in society is. We don't want you to procreate. We don't want you to raise strong children. We don't want you to build our communities. We want you to maintain our society. We want you to be economic slaves that keep our machine running and operating. That's your whole purpose, is to make us wealthy and rich and to use you as good economics. Give me Psalm 66, verse 11.
Psalm chapter 66, verse 11. Thou broughtest us into the net and laidest affliction upon our loins.
So God brought us into the what?
The net.
God brought us into the net. America is a trap. The judicial system is a trap. The educational system is a trap. The religious institution is a trap. The music that we listen to is a trap. That's why they call it trap music. It's not meant to influence or bring any type of change, mentally, psychologically, or physical change, but it's meant to destroy you, keep you entrapped in the system. Read.
Thou broughtest us into the net. Thou laidest affliction upon our loins.
America is our trap. America, we were brought to America not for blessings. We were brought to America for punishments, for disobeying God's laws. And in America, it's nothing but traps set up for our downfall. And the only way out of the trap is keeping God's commandments. So God brought us here in this trap to afflict us. Go on.
Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads.
God caused other men to ride over our heads, to walk over us, to define and classify us, to create and recreate us and shape us and define what is a man. Go on.
We went through fire and through water, but thou broughtest us out into a wealthy place.
Give me Lamentations chapter 5, verse 14.
Lamentations chapter 5, verse 13. Verse 13. They took the young men to grind, and the children fell under the wood. The elders have ceased from the gate.
So they took the young man. Remember, the young man is used as good economics. They had the woman, the independent woman, they emasculate the man and they emasculated the man, effeminized him, and they emasculated the woman. And they raised the men to be emotionally insensitive as well as to be weak, to be slaves. Go on. Good economics. Go on.
The young men from their music.
Read it again, verse 14.
The elders have ceased from the gate. The young men from their music.
Think about it. The elders have ceased from the gate. What is the gate going into? It's going to the position of authority. At the gate, we reproved, we corrected. The people came for counsel. We gave guidance. We taught the people at the gate. We instructed the nation. So read that again.
The elders have ceased from the gate.
And when they defined and took our masculinity and walked over our heads and defined us what is a man, they what?
Ceased. The elders have ceased from the gate.
The elders, the leaders, the pillars of the community has ceased from the gates, has ceased from the position and role as the head, as the leaders, as the pillars, as the protectors, as the providers. They ceased from the gate, from the God-given position. Get me Isaiah chapter 3, verse 5.
Isaiah chapter 3, verse 5. And the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable.
When you don't have grown men or older men to lead the generation, A man is supposed to bring discipline and order as well as structure in a household. When you have strong black leaders, you have strong children. That's why it says to raise up and instruct your child. Because why? He left an avenger of death, one like unto himself, because your child walks in your footsteps. You have Solomon walked in David's footsteps. You have Judas walking in Mattathias' footsteps. You have Isaiah's son. God told Isaiah to take his son along with him. Why? So that he could pattern himself after his father. A lot of times, usually you take on the attributes of your father. They say, wait a minute, you're just like your dad. You look like your dad and you act like your dad. You even move like your dad. Malcolm X's dad was a freedom fighter. A lot of the freedom fighters that came up in the 1960s was positioned or fashioned after their fathers. They took and patterned themselves after them. That's why the white man had to flood the communities with drugs, had to separate the black man from the household, and put certain laws and implement them in order to weaken the man and imprison them, to weaken us and to deplete our strength from us. Because they understand that strong men create strong children and strong leaders. Read that again.
And the people shall be oppressed.
And when you don't have strong men guiding, leading the nation, instructing them, the people will eventually be oppressed. Go on.
Every one by another.
Read.
And every one by his neighbor.
Because there's no discipline. There's no order. Read.
The child shall behave himself proudly.
Because the child will behave himself proudly because there's no man to guide that child, to discipline him, show him how to deal with his emotions, show him how to deal with his anger, show him how to deal with other men, how to deal with women, how to be strong, how to be proud, how to be confident, how to be dominant. The different characteristics and attributes that men are supposed to possess. That is what is a man supposed to instill in a child. In the movie 300, what do they do to the youth? They raise them up to be tough, mentally as well as physically tough. At a young age, the mama was more so the nurturer. That's why the father, Leonidas, which was an Israelite, was training with his child from a youth, from a very young age, was fighting with him, teaching how to war, how to defend himself. Because in learning how to defend himself, he learns how to defend his woman as well as his nation. Nobody could just come in and take advantage, take our woman, rape our woman, take our spoils, and just walk over us. That's why they always killed the man. They always went first and foremost to the aged men, the ones that had knowledge, wisdom. They maintained their culture, the position and lead. They took them out, then they went down the line. And they kept the young men because they could shape them. And like Willie Lynch said, the woman will keep them mentally and emotionally weak. Because why? He's good at economics. And the boy will grow up and be shaped and fashioned in an image of the woman. And that image that she's going to fashion and shape him is based upon her fear. So she's going to raise him to be like him, and then she's going to reverse the role and raise the woman or her daughter to be strong and independent. Good economics once again. Get me Isaiah 3 verse 12 now.
Verse 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them.
When there's a lack of respect, when there's no authority in a household, no discipline, no guidance, guess what? You have uncontrolled, out of order children. Go on.
O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths.
Give me the next picture. A$AP Rocky. So, read it again.
O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err.
So they which lead thee, now that the cycle has been reversed, we're entering an age and a cycle of the weak nature of a man that has been shaped and fashioned by society. Now we have the mission or the agenda has been accomplished. You have weak and feminine men acting in the role in a position of a woman, being nurturing and caring. Whereas it's supposed to be the opposite way around. You will never see a man in any culture holding a baby in a picture with his hand down. And notice how his hand is below his waist, covering his rod or his private part. For shame, what is it? To be shameful. He's holding a baby. He's kissing a baby, representing nurturing. Now look how she's walking. Now look how he's walking with his head down, kissing a child with a feminine necklace, his chest out, tight leather. Well, yeah, Benjamin wears leather sometimes, tight pants, so I can't even get mad. A$AP Rocky, he's Benjamin, right? No, he's not. Wait, is that a ring he has on? Wait, zoom in on that picture. Rihanna Reborn. He got a big old ring. Where's her ring? Even though it was wickedness. But he got a ring. So you seeing the man play the position and the role of a submissive woman, on the role that the woman's supposed to be playing. Now, if you look at Rihanna, look at her. Zoom in. Go down. Come on. No, go up. Go up. I don't want to see her legs. Now, look at her. How she walked with her head up, representing confidence, her chest up, boldness, masculinity. These are all the attributes of a masculine nature. Chest out, head up, confident. Read it again.
As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them.
And women rule over them. So we're seeing the role reversal and the weakening of the black man. When I say black, I'm not only making reference to the so-called African-American man. I'm making reference to all 12 tribes. So starting from the time period of slavery, they were successfully able to switch the roles. Now we're seeing the men coming back into place and trying to take a position in authority, the leading role as that masculine nature, the role which God created to be. Because like I said before, today's women don't have that example of a strong masculine figure outside the new age woman. The older women, our grandmothers, had that strong masculine figure because of society or the feminist movement as well as TV. They reprogrammed and showed them the image of what a man should be. Now, some women have kept to the values and the standards of what a man used to be. And they maintain and they operate within their femininity. But a lot of women, the new age woman or the modern age woman, have taken a masculine role because of the role reversal, and the men have become feminine because a lot of these women that's raising these children, or a lot of these women, like I said, a lot of these men that are operate within their femininity were raised in single-parented households. And these women that are raising these children didn't have a father figure. Based upon the different plots and ploys that occurred during the 1960s of them removing a black man out of the household and diminishing and destroying the black image. So now the black woman don't have an idea or the discipline of what a man is. So she defines and raises that boy in the image of what she thinks a man should be. Now, to give a woman liberty, of course a woman don't have structure in the household. She don't have the father discipline to show her role. She's going to be free. A woman was always meant to have a hedge. Where there's no hedge, the possession is spoiled. So now she has no hedge. She's free. Free to roam and do whatever she wants. So now she's going to operate based upon her wants and not her needs. So she said, you know what? I'm going to raise him to be the image of what I think a man to be. And this is going to be the same man that I'm going to prepare the future daughters to marry. So now they could get what they always wanted, power and domination. Give me the next image. Ebony. So now, this is the new age, weakened, effeminate man that's been shaped and fashioned by society. Now, women are complaining that there's no good men. That they're weak, or either they're weak, they're in jail, or they're gay. Because you allowed society to dictate what a man is, and you raise your young boys to be this. Now we have this. These are your millennials. Your Generation Z? This is the man that you always wanted. The weakened, effeminate man. With his legs crossed, his chest out, with a pink flamingo outfit. Look at his lips. Zoom in. Ebony magazine. Look at it. With these hood rat facial expression. We call them girl lips. Look at his lips. Puckered up. very feminine. Look at his eyes. Looking down. Benjamin. Oh, it's Levi, my bad. Look at his pants. The pink flamingos, I call that. Look at his shoes. Weak. So this is the black man defined in today's society. This is masculinity. Or if a man operates within a masculine nature or masculine energy, they call it toxic. That's why they attack it. People such as Andrew Tate. They attack who else? Kevin Samuels, they killed. They jailed Andrew Tate. And what is the other guy? The Edomite. My man. Jordan Peterson, thank you. Jordan Peterson as well. Now, get me Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 33. I want the video next. Timestamp 304.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 33. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts.
No. Is that what I want? Jeremiah, a man shall compass. Thank you. 31:22.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 22. How long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man.
So this is what we're seeing. We're seeing the male so-called masculine figures today has taken on the attributes of a woman to the point that woman has compassed a man not only in a wage gap economically, but a woman has also compassed a man in terms of masculinity, in terms of her attributes as well as characteristics. Rather than a woman possessing those feminine characteristics or traits, women are headbutting with a man. The women are taking on the masculine or role of the household as the head. They're taking on the leadership position in society. They're leading the so-called movement for some type of freedom or rights. They're ones at the forefront. Now give me the video. Let's start at timestamp 304.
To me, and he was talking about, he was married and his wife is a six-figure earner, and he talked about her girlfriends that would come over and complain about their husbands. And as he would talk about it, one of the things he shared with me is they had to ask for an allowance from their wives just to go hang out and drink a beer. So I was just kind of asking him some more questions about it. And one of the things he revealed is that this group of six-figure earning women were all exclusively married to brothers who were ex-cons. And if anything, they were unemployed and to some extent homeless when they met. You know what I mean? And so now they're kind of house husbands, which there's nothing wrong with if that's what works for your relationship. But the problem was the women were actually complaining about the fact that they didn't have an income, complaining about the fact that they weren't the men that, you know, that they've been idealizing since they were young. And yet these were the men that they chose, right? And so he was confused, and he reached out to me because he was asking me, why is this the case? And as I started to look into it, I realized it really wasn't a whole lot different than son husbands. So, you know, we talk about son husbands as boys whose biological mothers kind of have them play husband roles in their lives, play roles that are really, you know, inappropriate. And it doesn't have to get sexual, but unfortunately, there are times where it does. There's sexual violation in regard to that. But for the most part, when we talk about son husbands, these are biological offspring that are asked to play emotionally laborious roles for mothers that usually are reserved for, you know, men. With husband sons, one of the things I began to notice is that you had well-to-do women who were employed, who were educated, so on and so forth, and who would use the rationale that there were no other options, and they would choose men that were intentionally in such a low position that those men could not offer much challenge. So in other words, they were in the dominant position in the relationship. These men depended on them for hearth and home, for income, for food, for everything. And if there was so much as an argument, those men would be out on the street.
So see, that definition has to do with what we're doing with today.
That's it. So you notice how, like I said, they call it son husbands, or some men have been relegated to the position of stay-at-home husbands because of the role reversal. And a lot of the time, these women look for these figures that don't take on that masculine role financially or just taking on that masculine role in general. So women, they think that these are the men that they want. They raise these men to be emotionally weak, but a lot of these sisters are not happy. They think that's the men that they want, but biologically, they're not raised to be that way. I'll say it again. Women were not raised to be placed in a leadership position or a position to provide. On a role reversal, you're going against nature. That's why they're unhappy. Get me Sirach, chapter 25, verse 22.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, verse 22. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach.
So a woman, if she maintain her husband, she's going to be angry. She's going to be full of much reproach because that's not her natural position and role. Her role is to be nurturing, to be caring, and to be loving. A man's role is to protect, to provide, and to dominate. So the roles has been reversed to the point that a lot of these women are not happy in a position in leading. And they think they're happy because society has sold them a lie. And a lot of times, a woman, like I said, I forgot there was this funny interview when it says women rather be happy at home, taking care of the kids, playing a natural role. Because by the time they get at the age of 35 to 40, when the biological clock starts to get diminished, keeps ticking, because why? Menopause started to kick in and their inability to have children. So after all these years of being successful in the workforce, they come home to the empty house, realize they're unhappy because why? Happiness is not based upon a woman's success in the workforce, but happiness is based upon her ability to nurture her children and bring up and raise children. That's how she was created. You cannot create or you cannot operate outside of what you were created to do. That's why a lot of these men are suicidal. These homosexuals, transgender, most of them are suicidal because why? They operated outside of the nature, and you cannot walk contrary to how you were created. And this is why we're in the conditions or predicament that we are in today's society. Give me that next quote. Bishop Yalsop always quote this. Bishop Nathaniel also always quote this.
Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times.
And that's what we're living in. We're living in a cycle where we have weak men that are creating hard times. That's why you see in America diminishing to the point that where it is, because any society, or I'll say that any society that started as a patriarchy that becomes matriarchal tends to fail and fall. You cannot have a woman-dominated society. And those are usually the ingredients of a failed nation. And that's why America is diminishing and failing. And all cultures know that and understand that. Give me Genesis 13, chapter 3, verse 17. Yep, Genesis chapter 3, verse 17.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 17. And unto Adam he said, because I was hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life.
Read it again.
And unto Adam he said, because I was hearkened unto the voice of thy wife.
So these are different attributes that we possess that God never created us to do. So Adam hearkened unto his wife, meaning he took a subservient role and listened to his woman rather than leading her and correcting her. So the downfall of man started with Adam, just like the downfall of woman started with Eve being masculine and operating outside of her nature, rather being submitted to Adam and allow him to read and take his authority. Eve decided she wanted to find something that would give her the advantage over Adam and not to operate within her role or her femininity or listen to her husband. And the man's downfall was him not correcting his woman and listening to his woman. Read it again.
And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife.
That's why Adam didn't sin, but Adam's sin was him listening to his wife. Now, not to say that woman doesn't have anything to contribute, wives, We understand, like I said, a husband and wife that agree together, but at the end of the day, the husband gets the last saying. Not to say him to ignore him, because David listened to Abigail. But he listened to his wife, and it wasn't contributed anything towards the relationship. It didn't have anything to do with God's laws. It was operated outside of the commandments. So God says Adam's job was to correct her. Go on.
And Adam said, and unto Adam he said, because I was hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree.
Because you decided to follow and listen to Eve, and eat of the tree means you decided to learn from him. Eve went outside of your power, your authority, and your rule, and learned from another man. And rather than correcting Eve and what she was bringing in, you took it in and you accepted it, and you learned it as well. Go on.
Of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake.
So Adam knew, because why? God taught Adam the commandments. He understood right. He didn't understand wrong. He understand good, and he didn't understand evil. So God says, you knew of this. You didn't correct her, because why? He let the woman's femininity, her guiles, he let her beauty, he let her feminine nature deceive him. And rather than correct him, he tolerated it. Go on.
Cursed is the ground for thy sake.
And that was a downfall of man, and not correcting her and putting her in her position, in her place, under his rule and authority. Go on.
In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life.
And that's why we eat in the sorrow of it all the days of our life. We got to work 9 to 5. So we got to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning and work for another man just to provide the basic needs for our household. We got to go to another household rather than working for ourselves, because at one point in time, we did work for ourselves. We farmed our own foods. We were creative. We were inventors. We made for ourselves. We provided for ourselves. We didn't have to go work for another man and provide a refrigerator. No, we worked our own fields. We didn't have to go to another person. We grew our own crops. And guess what? The whole family farmed it. Nowadays, we got to go wake up, go to work, and go to work to pay for a refrigerator, pay for electricity, pay for food, something that we provided for ourselves. Pay for a TV, pay for your credit card bill. Now that you're no longer working for yourself and your family and for living, your basic essentials, now you're working for another man to provide you the basic needs. The curse is Deuteronomy 28. Go on. That's it. Get me Jeremiah chapter 44, verse 15.
Jeremiah chapter 44, verse 15. Mm-hmm. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods.
And from Adam we all died. And for the men, that's why I said, when you go back to the beginning, you see the attributes that I'll say the negative attributes that we possess based upon our choices that Adam made as well as Eve made outside of God's laws. And from Adam as well as Eve, we took on their character or the negative or bad characteristics, leading us to the position that we are today, to the decline of the earth. For the time period when we walked in our masculinity as well as women walking in their femininity, we were immortals. The earth was in its perfection. But once we operated outside of our God-given nature, that's when you see the earth start to deteriorate, become weakened and weakened. As the man, and we don't see the importance in our operating within our masculine role and exhibiting those masculine energy. The whole earth is turned upside down. The whole earth is deteriorated because of us. We decided that we don't want to operate the way God intended for us to do. We don't want to operate in the image in which God created and created us to be. Go on.
Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods.
So the men knew, just like Adam knew, rather than being, because sometimes we become passive aggressive. We become passive. We look at things, we turn the other head. We say, it's not going to be bad. I don't want to have an argument in the household, so I don't correct her. No, you got to be confrontational if you want to establish law and order. Go on.
And all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Lord, we will not hearken unto thee.
So the women were burning incense to other gods. And the men knew of it. Rather than correcting them, just like Adam was supposed to correct Eve, they was following the footsteps and being passive, docile, being dominated by the woman, and allowing her to do whatever she wanted to do, to be controlling. Feminism in a household was not only during this time, but was always also during the time in Babylon. Go on.
But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth.
We would do whatever things we want to do. We want to be liberated. We want to be free. We don't want a man to tell us what to do, to define what a woman is, her position, her role is. We would do whatever come out of our mouth. Feminism has always been around throughout society. It's whether or not the men kept it in check. That's a part of the nature based upon what Eve brought into the world. So women are fashioned based upon after their mother Eve, and men are fashioned after their father Adam. It's whether or not we as men decided, are we going to follow that example? Or are we going to follow the examples of the prophets that God placed on this earth to lead us back to the way God intended for? Go on.
To burn incense unto the queen of heaven.
And they burn incense to what? The queen of what?
To the queen of heaven.
Just like Diana. Just like Ashtaroth, the queen of heaven. Feminism. Go on.
And to pour out drink offerings unto her.
They always, that's why the woman will always say, how do you know God is a woman? It's based upon them worshiping women. The woman as God. You have black men saying the woman is God. It's all go back to feminism. Their freedom, giving them liberty. If you give a woman enough liberty, she would change the whole world based upon her perception and what she thinks the world should operate. To the point that they will change what God is, his nature. God could be a woman. The woman is God. And that's why the black woman is saying the woman is God in order to what? To sleep with the woman. They understand the woman's not God. They know that. Men understand their masculine nature. They understand they got the role, but they game the woman because they know that's what the woman wants to hear. It's within the nature based upon the form of the Eve. Read that again.
And to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals and were well and saw no evil. When we started worshiping the queen of heaven, we saw no evil. We was taken care of. We had money, we had fame, we had power. Why? Because why? Because when you operate outside of your role, you get blessings. 2. Go on. But since we left off to burn incense to the queen of heaven and to pour out drink
and notice how they decided to leave the laws of God. God is a man. And they want to worship a woman. Start worshiping the devil. I'll say it again. They didn't want to be so much under a man that they left worshiping God, a man, to worship the devil and set up a woman. That's the saying that they can have for men, to the point that they would turn their back from God and worship a woman. Go on.
But since we left off to burn incense to the queen of heaven and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine.
You see, when we burn incense, when we worship Baal, the devil, the queen of heaven, we got blessings. But ever since we stopped worshiping him, we went back to worshiping God. We have famine, we have the sword, we afflicted. Yeah, you're going to be afflicted in this world. We decided when you decide to stand for righteousness, you will be afflicted. That's a part of the battle. That's the test to see whether or not you're worthy, or even if you believe. God has proven us to see what are you going to do. And when the things come upon you, you say, you know what? Let me go back into the world. It was easier when I was in the world. I got paid more. My wife listened to me more. I was happy because my wife was operating the way she wanted to operate. We were all happy. We was doing whatever we want. Now there's problems in my household. She didn't want to listen to me. Go on.
And when we burned incense to the queen of heaven and poured out drink offerings unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her and pour out drink offerings unto her without our men?
Without our what?
Men.
So the men knew. But men do it only to please the woman. Just like we watched the video a couple of weeks ago with Andrew Tate when he was talking about the astrology or the horoscopes. He said, we don't care about the horoscopes. We don't care about that BS. We do it because of the woman. That's exactly what he said. Men would turn a blind eye, and even with the article we read, feminism and astrology, the correlation between the two of them. Men are only tolerated because the women like it. It's the same attributes that we took from Adam. Adam only tolerated because of Eve, because she was happy in it, because she was liberated, rather than the corrector. So men only tolerate it because why? They understand they don't want to be confrontational. They want to be passive. They don't want arguments in a household. So they take on a submissive or passive role and allow the woman to be dominant and controlling and leading as well. Give me 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 26.
2 Kings chapter 8, verse 26. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign. And he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. And he walked in the way of the house of Ahab.
Now, go to 2 Kings chapter 11, verse 1.
2 Kings chapter 11, verse 1. And when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal.
We never had a successful, independent queen ruling. Go on.
But
so the first thing she decided to do was what? Read. She arose.
She arose and destroyed all the seed royal.
She arose in position and power and destroyed the royal seed. She started killing the men. Many women, or say the queens of the Bible, that rose up in power and position, always went after the masculine figure. Anything I'll say, they always went after the image of masculinity and tried to destroy it off the face of the earth in order for her to gain control and rule and dominate society. If she can't reach the goalpost, she brings it towards her. Or she redefines it. Because she understands that there's certain things that she can't equal up to. She can't measure up to certain characteristics of a man. Biological or even logical. It's certain things. So what? She has to redefine a man. Or if she can't redefine it, guess what? She just started killing them. Go on.
But Jehoshaphat, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons which were slain. And they hid him, even him and his nurse, in a bedchamber from Athaliah, so that he was not slain.
So Jehoshaphat had to hide Joash, the son, from being put to death. Go on.
And he was with her, hid in the house of the Lord 6 years. And Athaliah did reign over the land. And in the 7th year, Jehoiada sent and fetched the rulers of over hundreds, with the captains and the guard, and brought them to him into the house of the Lord, and made a covenant with them, and took an oath of them in the house of the Lord, and showed them the king's son. And he commanded them, saying, This is the thing that ye shall do. A third part of you that enter in on the Sabbath shall even be keepers of the watch of the king's house. And the third part shall be at the gate of Sur, and a third part at the gate behind the guard. So shall ye keep the watch of the house, that it be not broken down. And 2 parts of all you that go forth on the Sabbath, even they shall keep the watch of the house of the Lord about the king. And ye shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapons in his hand. And he that cometh within the ranges, let him be slain. And be ye with the king as he goeth out and as he cometh in. And the captains over the hundreds did according to all the things that Jehoiada the priest commanded. And they took every man his men that were to come in on the Sabbath, and then that should go out on the Sabbath, and came to Jehoiada the priest. And to the captains over hundreds did the priest give King David spears and shields that were in the temple of the Lord. And the guard stood, every man with his weapons in his hand, round about the king, from the right corner of the temple to the left corner of the temple, along by the altar and the temple. And he brought forth the king's son, and put the crown upon him, and gave him the testimony. And they made him king, and anointed him. And they clapped their hands and said, God save the king. And when Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she came to the people.
And think about it. You have Jehoshaphat hit Joash because they understood that it was not natural for a woman to rule over a nation. You cannot have a successful, dominated matriarchy. There's never been a successful matriarchy ever in the history of mankind. Or even if there was a queen ruling like you have, they'll say, oh, what about Hatshepsut? But there was always men, a council of men over them. You never just had a council of women dominating or ruling society. Never. Or what about Deborah? Deborah's mind was to the men of Israel. Always. A hierarchy of men ruling the things. If a woman's put in position, then a man was always guiding her. What about Queen Esther? Mordecai was guiding her. So you never had a woman in a natural position leading and guiding a nation. That's why the Arabs, they don't respect that. I think it was years ago, what is it, the Condoleezza? The Condoleezza? Yeah, Condoleezza Rice. Was it her? I think she went to Arabia, one of the Arabic or Saudi Arabia, and they told her to play the piano for them. I believe, was that her? Condoleezza Rice. I believe that was her. They told her, hey, if you can play they wanted her to play the piano. They didn't respect her in a position of authority. And our men understood that. You cannot have a successful ruling empire with a woman leading over it. The woman king was BS. They would try to push these things through media and television, try to shape your reality as if this is something, you never seen that. You don't see a dominated, if that's the case, why don't you see a woman-dominated police force? Why don't you see a woman-dominated fire department? Why don't you see woman-dominated engineers? Or woman-dominated construction workers? Because you cannot have a successful running empire with a matriarchy. It's impossible. The foundation of a society is built based upon a patriarchy. The bridges that are built, the infrastructure of a nation, that was built by a patriarchy. Go on.
And when Athaliah heard the noise of the garden of the people, she came to the people into the temple of the Lord. And when she looked, behold, the king stood by a pillar, as the manner was, and the princes and the trumpeters by the king. And all the people of the land rejoiced and blew the trumpets and blew with
Everybody
trumpets.
rejoiced. They were happy because they understood this is not right. Go on.
And Athaliah rent her clothes and cried, treason, treason. But Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of the hundreds, the officers of the hosts, and said unto them, have her forth without the ranges, and him that followeth her kill with the sword.
Him that what?
Followeth her, kill with the sword.
Any one of you men that follow Athaliah, kill with the sword. Any man following Athaliah, kill with the sword. It was an abomination for a man to follow after a woman. I'll say it again. It was always abominable for a man to follow after a woman. But after Adam, because Adam was passive rather than correcting his wife, we have the condition, or we have society shaped by women leaders. Well, at one point in time, it was always abominable. It was unheard of as well as unlawful for a woman to guide or lead men. Men was always put in position, whether how high in hierarchy a woman was, there was always a man guiding her and telling her what to do or how to operate. To the point that the priests took it so serious, they said, any man that follow her, kill him. Because you cannot have a weak society of men. If they see a society of, that's why other nations start to see the weakness of America. And they see in America becoming weak. You see in men transgender in office, in position of authority. You having weak men. Weak men brings hard times because other nations see that there's a female-dominated culture in society. And they see it as an opportunity to overthrow them. Men conquer. Men dominate. That's why it's race. It's a race. It's a race for domination. It's a race for control. It's a race for rule or power. That's how man was created. When man was first created, he was given dominion over all the earth. The fishes, the fowl, the creatures. So man naturally had that within the nature to dominate, to conquer, to win. So when they see men are losing, then when they see men with feminine characteristics, they say, oh, we could take over that country. You think China, Russia, all these countries now looking at the state of America, how they're emasculating the woman, emasculating the man. You don't see that they're trying to keep out, or they have it so that the American internet that they block the internet through the VPN. They don't allow access to America's internet through their Facebook, their social media, their TikTok. They change the algorithms because they understand that a strong society has to be ruled by strong men. A weak society is ruled by weak, effeminate men that bring forth hard times and the destruction. Get me Revelation chapter 2, verse 18.
Revelation chapter 2, verse 18. Mm-hmm. And unto the angel of the church in Thyatira, write, these things saith the Son of God, who hath his eyes like unto a flame of fire, and his feet are like fine brass. I know thy works, and charity, and service, and faith, and thy patience, and thy works, and the last to be more than the first. Notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, which calleth herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication, and to eat things sacrificed unto idols.
Christ's issue with the church, not because of the work. They did have works. They did have patience as well as faith. One thing they were lacking was that masculinity, being placed in that leadership role and not having a woman rule over them. Christ didn't want no woman to rule. That's why he says, let the man, get that in Numbers chapter 29. Let the man set up a man over the congregation. 27 verse 16. It was always meant for a man to guide and lead, but the man has taken the back end and has allowed the woman to dominate and lead. Go on.
Numbers chapter 27 verse 16. Mm-hmm. Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation.
Set a man over the congregation. It was never intended for a woman to lead. And a lot of times women don't want to lead. They get tired. They're operating outside of nature. That's why they're angry. And some of you brothers, let your woman lead. Some of you brothers, I see some brothers too. Some sisters are more masculine than a husband. And the reason why they wonder why they have problems in the house, because brother, you decided to choose that woman, so now you got to have, that's why some sisters, we won't put with some brothers because he said, nah, that sister has too much of a masculine spirit. We need a brother that's rough to deal with that sister because he's the only one that can put her in her place. We wouldn't say we need a rude boy. We need a bad boy. Some sisters need some brothers that came for that street lifestyle, that has that energy, that can deal with that, because they're not going to allow a woman to rule over them. Some of you brothers are not equipped to deal with some of these women. So that's why we said, no, brother, you can't. You'd be like, what about this sister? I said, you can't handle that sister. Even though you're a man, but you don't have the testicular fortitude to deal with her. She will sun you. She will put you in your place. You don't know how to handle a woman like that. Some of you too weak. You won't brought up the correct way. That's why we tell some of you brothers to wait. Wait before you deal with a woman so that you learn what is it to be a man. How a man supposed to act. How a man supposed to walk. How a man supposed to talk. Because society, like I said, it shaped the fashion man to be based upon their image. But the Bible shows us how a man's supposed to walk, how he's supposed to talk, how he's supposed to conduct himself. That's why in repentance we tell you take your time. Don't rush into things. But some of you rush into things, and then your marriage is a failure. You wonder why you're having problems. You wonder why your woman is calling you a punk or a faggot. You wonder why your woman is kicking you out of the house and telling you what to do, dominating you, telling you how she wants you to be treated. You wonder why. Because you didn't take the time to build yourself up. You didn't want to go through the Men of Valor program. You didn't want to go through the ranks. Some brothers say that, oh, I don't want any rank. You don't want any rank because you don't want any time. You don't want to be put through the pain to become the man that God wants you to be. Because the Men of Valor is to hold men accountable and hold them to a certain level of position of masculinity. You got to possess certain attributes and traits. And the higher you go up in a hierarchy and rank a position, the more you have to possess. Certain ranks, you can't be weak or soft. Certain ranks, you got to be over a school. We can't have a weak, passive brother over a school. We can't have a brother that doesn't have confidence, that's not competent, that's not assertive. We can't have you over the school or running things or over a camp. We put our lives on the line every time we go out there to camp. We can't have a brother that's weak, that's soft, that can be moved. The Lord said to set your face against their face. We can't have a brother that's head's always down, always talking soft. No, you got to be rough. You got to be dangerous. And they got to perceive you as so. So they can say, that's the wrong person. Ezekiel 13, verse 17.
Ezekiel chapter 13, verse 17. Likewise, thou son of man, set thy face against the daughters of thy people, which prophesy out of their own heart, and prophesy thou against them.
So God commanded us to take a position, our role in the household as well as the nation. And it's the first thing he tells us to do is set thy face against the daughter of thy people. Because why? The woman in their comfortability assumed the position and role of the man, becoming a masculine and domineering. So God says to once you fulfill your position, you fulfill your obedience, you learn what is a man and what is it like to be a man and fit your position and role. God says, go after that woman and put her in her position, put her in her place. Show her according to the scripture, what does it mean to be feminine? Because obviously, society's not teaching her. So you got to go to the scripture and show her. Go through mothers like Esther. Go through the mothers like Judith. Go through the mothers like Tabitha, Abigail, Deborah, how she submitted to the man. Go to our foremothers and show them what does it mean to be a woman. Show them what you like, because every man knows what he wants in a woman. So show her what you like. And then once you do that, guess what? You reverse the cycle. Now those women become age, it is true. They gain experience, and they begin to teach the younger woman how to be feminine, how to be submissive, how to be nurturing, how to be graceful in a speech, how to be to have the attributes that God intended them to have. So now, get me Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. In order to know the position of a man in society and his role as well as his nature, he has to understand the nature of God. Because if you want to get back to your nature, we got to study how God was and how his son was. Because you can't get any masculine than that, more masculine than that. Because why? They're the first one to create man in their image. And we were intended to operate and maneuver in the image of God, possessing his attributes and his characteristics. But we allow society to define us, to define what a man is as well as what a woman is. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them.
So God made a man in his image. In order to understand your nature and coming back into it, you have to understand the nature of God and the image in which he intended to create us in. So God made us in his image to be an exact replication of his being. And being that, God made us to take on his attributes as well as characteristics. Go on.
And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
Read.
And subdue it.
And do what?
Subdue it.
So God's a conqueror. The first law, he said, to be fruitful and to multiply with his wife in order to what? Replenish the earth. But also after that, he says you be fruitful and multiply. He said subdue the earth. That's why there's been many wars throughout history. And women say, oh, we got to make more men more feminine. We got to make more emasculate the men and not be so much toxic, because why? Man has created all the problems on earth. God put that spirit in man to subdue it, to be dominated. That's why men go to war. Men conquer. Men divide. Men win. Because God said to subdue it. That's the spirit that he put in us. Give me Sirach chapter 17, verse 1.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 17, verse 1. The Lord created man of the earth.
God created man of the earth. Read.
And turned him into it again.
Read.
He gave them few days and a short time, and power also over the things. And power.
He gave us power. Read.
Also over the things therein.
He gave us power to subdue the whole earth. Go on.
He endued them with strength.
So God gave us strength. So I want to start there. So God gave us power. Man was made to be powered. They call it toxic masculinity. Men are operating it's too masculine. It's too much. It's too machismo. Men are exuded too much masculine energy. Man shouldn't be that way. Man was created to be powerful in order to subdue the earth. They tell us, they coin the term toxic masculinity, but meanwhile, it takes toxic masculinity to be able to defeat or go against another nation. And notice how they do it at the peon level. These military men that's going to subdue these other countries, you don't hear them talking about toxic masculinity. No, these are masculine men. They're talking about, if you retaliate, we will destroy you. We will come in and destroy your army. You have military men speaking in a masculine, dominated, powerful demeanor. Why? Because they understand it takes testicular fortitude, it takes strength and power in order to subdue another nation. From the beginning of time, it's always been a race for power and domination. Get Exodus chapter 15, verse 3. And you wonder why. Why are men like that? Because God is like that. And God made us in his own image. Exodus chapter 15, verse 3.
Exodus chapter 15, verse 3. Mm-hmm. The Lord is a man of war.
God is what?
A man of war.
God is a man of war. And that's why there's been war from the beginning of times. Ever since the creation of man, from Cain, Abel, and Cain's descendants, they've been warring. For the recreation of man, not recreation, or I said the repopulation of man and woman on this earth, there was always war. Why? Because that was the nature of God. And God, one of the first and second commandment, God says, after be fruitful to multiply, to subdue the earth. God endued man with power as well as strength. Because God is a man of war. And that's why there's always been war from the beginning of time. God's the one that orchestrates the wars. A man cannot operate outside of his nature unless you do social experiments in order to change his nature so that you remain the dominant ruling society. I'll say it again. A man cannot operate outside his nature unless you go to levels in order to change his nature to keep him subdued. If you could weaken a man's nature, then you could subdue him and be the top ruling nation. Get me Psalm chapter 47, verse 2.
Psalm chapter 47, verse 2. Mm-hmm. For the Lord Most High is terrible. He is a great king over all the earth.
God is terrible, meaning don't mess with him.
That's right.
They call him the El Shaddai, the great demon-like power, meaning he's not one to play with. When he speaks, the whole earth flees away. But some of you men speak, you want me to say, nigga, that's the leadership talking. They don't even believe you. He said, nigga, that's not you talking. Man, shut up. Shut up and go clean the house. And some of you men, that's why we tell you, brothers, wait before you deal with a woman, because this is what you brothers do. You get the woman, you lie with her because you're burning, you can't control yourself, you can't contain. You look at a woman for sexual pleasure. You say, damn, rather than taking the time to build yourself up. And I tell brothers, brother, build yourself up. But because Deacon Dick gave him another counsel, I give, brother, build yourself up. Learn what does it mean to be a man. Learn what does it mean to be a leader. Learn what does it mean to be a provider. Learn what does it mean to be a protector. Because it takes a lot to become a man. It's not easy. You got to be strong. You got to be confident. You got to be assertive. You got to be intelligent. These are all the characteristics and attributes you got to possess. And it takes time. You got to build yourself up. And that takes time. That takes being with the leadership. That takes being a man of valor. That takes being around brothers as much as you can. That takes listening to class. It takes time to build something that wasn't there because society taught the black man to be weak. It taught the Latino man to be weak. And when you come into this truth, the first thing you want is a woman. You don't need a woman. You need to be alone and single and learn what does it mean to be a man before you take on a woman. Because if you take on this woman, brother, I tell brothers, one thing I always tell brothers, the woman that you choose will define your role in this truth. A woman has the ability to shape you or break you, to add value, to increase you or diminish you. Based upon, and you can't handle, and guess what? That's based upon your ability to lead, to guide her, to deal with her scripturally. The scripture says wisdom and knowledge reign. The scripture says, give me that in Sirach chapter 1.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 1, verse 19. Wisdom reigneth down skill and knowledge of understanding.
Do you have the wisdom and understanding and the ability to mold and shape her into the woman that you want her to be, the woman that the scripture says she's supposed to be? You're supposed to be her guide. You're supposed to be her head. So do you have you acquired the information to guide her, to lead her, to mold her, to shape her? Do you know how to do that, brother? Have you fulfilled your course? Have you fulfilled your obedience? No, you have not. You've been here with us a year. You think you know what it means to be a man? You haven't even gone to war. You haven't put through anything. Men, in order for a man to become a man, he has to go through things, and it's truth. He has to be put through the fire. He has to be purged. That's why it says, "Gold, I will make a man more fine than pure gold." Gold, in order for gold to become the precious commodity that everybody desires, it has to be put through intense pressure and heat in order to purify and purge out the impurities within them. Meaning pressure breaks pipe. Pressures molds or shapes and fashion. Diamonds are not worth anything until it's fashioned and shaped. But it takes pressure in order to shape a diamond. A man, in order to become a man that God's intended him to be, he needs pressure. He needs pain. He needs trials. He needs to go through things. A man that has not gone through things cannot truly become a man. You got to go through things. You got to go through hardship. You got to go through trials. You got to go through pain. And going through these things, only then you will grow and get out of that weak nature. We need it. But a lot of you didn't allow yourself to be developed that way. A lot of you didn't allow God to work through you, to put you through that pressure, to put you through that pain, to put you through the trials. You skipped it and got a woman. Now you gotta deal with her and you. It's impossible to deal with both, brother. I'll say it again. It's impossible to deal with a masculine woman and you as a feminine man. So now you're repeating the same cycle, and you say, "Can I have counsel?" Hell no, I can't counsel you. You can't counsel that anymore. You skip the stages. We told you what to do in order to avoid that, but some of you decided, you know what? I don't want to wait. My lust is controlling me. It's overpowering me. So now, because you skipped the stages, now you have problems in the household because you didn't allow yourself to grow, and in growing, allow that sister to grow. Now, I'm not saying that she's going to be perfect after all those years, because a woman's repentance is based upon her ability to submit to some man, whether it be to the leadership or her husband. But you didn't give her time to learn what it means to submit. And to submit means doing the work. Being used in a body. Hey, sister, I need you to do this. That's a level of submission. Sister, I need you to be here. I need you to help out with this. Sister, I need you to be in the cooking team. I need you to be in the cleanup team. I need you over the... That's being submissive. Her arms. Learn what does it mean going to Daughters of Sarah meetings or Titus 2. You didn't allow her that time to progress, or you didn't allow her that time to build herself. Or you build yourself by going through men of valor. You didn't allow that. Now you got problems. Where am I? All right, now, let's go to Psalms chapter 29, verse 4. So a man got to be terrible, meaning he got to be dangerous. And I'll explain what I mean by dangerous. I mean, he don't got to be a killer, but you got to be able to protect. I'll get into that. Go on.
Psalm chapter 29, verse 4. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty.
The voice of the Lord is powerful. Some of you brothers speak, but some of you sound feminine. You sound like the woman. You sound like your mother. You sound like your sister. And some of you live at home with your mother and your sister still. But you talking about, I want a man, I want a woman. What the hell with you? You want a woman, but you still at home with a mommy? You still have mommy attributes. I remember one brother a long time ago. He came into the school. This one, we was on beast mode. I mean, it was me, Captain Sakai, Captain Hen, and I. We were savages. We had to calm down just a little bit. I'll say it again. We had to calm down just a little bit because we was running brothers out. If we sense any type of weakness in you, bro, we'll corner you. We'll corner you, and we would tear you up like a bunch of wolves or lions. One brother came in, and he came in, his hair slicked back. So I said, bro, why your hair look like that? His hair slicked back, looked like his perm. I said, yo, bro, who combed your hair? He said, my mother. I said, holy crap. Bro, we tore that brother up for a whole hour. But the brother's doing good. It was good for him. We had to break that brother down. And some of you brothers need to be broken down. In the military, before you go to war, what do they have to do? They have to break you down mentally, psychologically, to take out that weak nature in you so that you could go to war. Some of you men coming to the truth, guess what? We got to break you down mentally, psychologically, spiritually, so that you can rebuild yourself up, start from the beginning. That's why I said, Jeremiah said, son of man, I have sent you to tear and to build. We got to tear that weak, effeminate nature in you, and then we got to build that masculine nature in you. Because some of you too weak. I tell brothers all the time, I don't want a weak brother around me. I'll punch you in the face. Just because you're the way you stand. I said, God, I can't look at him. I'm like, you're so mean. I said, I can't take it. I can't take weakness. That's how I was raised. Go on. Read it again.
The voice of the Lord is powerful.
The voice of God is powerful. I mean, when God speaks, give me that in Exodus chapter 18. When God spoke, do you know mountains crumble? The elements change? Fire issue forth? When you speak, you're supposed to command the attention of the room. When you walk in a room, people are supposed to understand there's something different about this man. The way he carry himself. A confident, masculine, assertive man, people respect and they understand when he walks in a room. Everything stops. Go on. Exodus 18, verse 21, I believe.
Exodus chapter 18, verse.
That it? This is talking about the fear of God. Exodus 21, verse. Let me get it. Exodus 20. Where is it? Verse 18.
Exodus chapter 20.
Exodus 20, verse 18.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 18. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. Mm-hmm. And they said unto Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die.
That's what it means God's voice is powerful. When God speaks, you say they saw thunderings and lightnings and a noise of trumpet and a mountain smoking. God commands the attention of the whole earth globally when he speaks. That's what I said the voice of the Lord is powerful. There's a difference in a household there's a difference when you have a husband and a wife. When a husband speaks to the children, all they got to do is, children more than often respect the father over the mother. Children would do certain things with the mother that they won't do with the father. Or sometimes the mother always say, he's not listening. He or she's not listening to me. I can't control them. When she said, when daddy gets home, the child stops. Because daddy demands or commands a certain level of respect. When daddy speaks, when mom says stop, when daddy speaks, the child looks at her like, what the hell was that? Thunder. Because there's a several level of vocal tonality that comes from a man that commands attention. Men's voice were meant to be powerful, to command attention. Get me Revelation chapter 20. When God enters, everybody flees. The whole earth stops.
Revelation chapter 20 and start at verse 12.
Read.
Verse 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them.
When God makes his appearance, the heavens and all the earth flee away. That's the power that God has. That's the power. When God enters into the room, that's the power that he commands. The attention. To the whole point that nobody want to be around him. Because of that respect they have, that fear they have for him. When God speaks, people fear him. He commends that attention based upon his nature. That's why some people, women know who to cross. And women know who not to cross. Some brothers, women take advantage of. I've seen it for myself. They will disrespect you. For another man, they will not do the same thing. And I've seen it. Some brothers complain about the wife, but they don't treat us that way. They don't talk to us that way. Because there's a certain level of respect that we command from a woman. Even from the way she looks at us, from her eyes, from her facial expression. I tell sister right away, they come up to the table. I said, first and foremost, before you come and talk to me, fix your face. If you can't get that right, we have nothing to talk about. There's a certain level of respect I command from a woman. Before you even talk, the first words that come out of your mouth, that's a respect every man should command. But like I said, some of you, the woman knows you for who you were, and now you're trying to build a bridge with her on it. Rather than building a bridge so that she could cross over, you at the end waiting for her. You're building it together with her. So she knows your weaknesses. Get me. John chapter 18, verse 2.
John chapter 18, verse 2. And Judas also, which betrayed him, knew the place. For Jesus oft times resorted thither with his disciples. Judas then, having received a band of men and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, cometh thither with lanterns and torches and weapons. Jesus therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said unto them, Whom seek ye? They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus saith unto them, I am he. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with them. As soon then as he had said unto them, I am he, they went backward.
Just by him answering them, responding, I am he. What they do? Boom, power. That's why the Bible says the voice of the Lord is powerful. When Christ spoke, he said, I am he. Everybody flew back. All the soldiers flew back. And Christ just showed them not even a small percentage of his power. Just by his voice alone commanded respect and attention to the point that he blew them back. He didn't even show them not even 1%, not even 0.5%, not even a millionth of a percent of his power. Just by his voice alone, in man's flesh, he was able to show fear. Give me Revelation chapter 1 verse 15.
Revelation chapter 1 verse 15. And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
That's why they always say black people speak loud. We speak loud because our Father as well as our Messiah speaks loud. And that's the nature of a man, to speak loud. Lions roar. Lions command the attention of the whole kingdom or jungle. When we speak with power as well as with authority. Some of you brothers, you speak and you don't command the attention of the room. You're docile. You walk with your head down. You can look at you can see the lack of confidence in your face. You can tell you that you lack confidence. Give me that in Matthew chapter 7, verse 29. You speak soft. You walk soft. You don't even have a strong walk. You walk with your head down. Shalom, brother. But shut the hell up and go in the back of the room. I'm having problems. You're too damn weak. Read.
Matthew chapter 7, verse 29. For he taught them as one having authority.
When you teach, Christ taught as one having authority. He didn't teach soft like today's modern day Christians or modern Pharisees teach. They teach, oh, you got to be soft. Oh, why don't you, if you taught a certain way, if you change your approach, maybe people will listen. You know they won't. They won't listen to you. Once again, they're trying to dictate masculinity and how a man is supposed to carry himself as well as talk. Women say it again. Every time a man talks or trying to bring correction, whether it be on Clubhouse or on the streets, maybe if you change your tone, maybe if you spoke differently, maybe if you lowered it down a little bit, people will listen. No, they won't listen. You're so aggressive. Kevin Samuels, they try to do with Kevin Samuels. He say maybe if you change your approach or your tone, people will listen to you. And Kevin says, who has more results than me? So it's not the tone. They want to demasculate you. They don't want you to operate within a masculine authority. They want you to be made in the image of themselves. They want you to talk to them, and they don't even talk that way. I'll say it again. When do you see a black woman who say, can you talk? They says, why don't you guys are too loud? If you brought it down, if you change your approach, we will listen. But black women don't change their approach. If you change your approach, we will listen. Why don't they take their own advice? But they tell us to talk, bring our tone down, stop talking loud. But they don't want to talk. They don't want to talk soft. That's the feminine characteristics. Why do you think they talk loud? Because they took on those masculine attributes. Why do you think they want you to talk soft? Because they want you to take on the feminine attributes. Why don't they take their own advice? If you want to come in, if you want our attention, bring it down. Bring your tone down, but we're not going to do that. Go on.
For he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes.
So Christ taught as one having authority. Some of you are too effeminate. Some of you walk in a room, you don't command attention. You walk with your chest down, you walk like A$AP Rocky. And your wife walk like Rihanna. And we see it. I can see this. I can see who's, you know what? I don't want to get too graphic. But I can see who's bending who over. Based upon the way you conduct yourself in the body. And brother, she won't listen to me. Oh, yeah? So you're telling your woman won't listen to you? But she'll listen to the white man. She'll go to work and listen to her boss. She'll have more respect for that man that's giving her a check than a man than you. That's what you're telling me? That you can't command that authority? And women they look for a man that can lead them. They always say that even though like I said, it's lies. It's based upon, like I said, they allow society to manipulate them and teach and tell them what to look for or what they should look for in a man. And society's lying to them. It's nothing but lies, and it's to hurt them. It's not what they truly want because they're never truly happy until a man takes a position and role and to lead them. And I hear some sisters say, I want him to tell me what to do. I want him to lead. When sisters see their husbands marching, they take pictures. Because why? It shows power. It shows authority. Give me Genesis 2, verse 9. So knowing the characteristics and attributes of God and what man was made in, man himself are to take the attributes and characteristics of God.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 9. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food.
Sorry, 2 and 7.
Verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul.
Sorry, keep going. Keep going.
And the Lord God...
Sorry, verse 19.
Verse 19. And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle and to the fowl of the air.
So Adam was created from the dust of the ground, the first man. In the image of God was he made. Adam, as well as all men after Adam, was made to be an exact image and a reflection of God, his characteristics as well as his attributes and traits. Give me 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 8.
1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 8. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man.
The man was not made and fashioned after the woman. The man was not made and fashioned in the image of a woman and what she wants him to be. No, God says God formed man in his image and fashioned him from the dust of the ground. Woman was taken out of the ribs of man. Man was taken out of the dust of the ground. Woman was made for man and not man for the woman. Man was created and fashioned after the image of God to be an exact replication of him, to be an exact replication of his power, of his authority, to walk like him, to talk like him, to be a man of war, to be a terrible like power. Go on.
For the man is not of the woman.
Read.
But the woman of the man.
Of the woman came of the man. Read.
Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man.
But the woman for the man. And you notice how the woman has become the prize and not the man. It's been reversed because now you ask the woman, what does she look for in a man? The woman has a laundry list. I saw it in Philly. I asked, what are you looking for? She had a whole list. Men don't look. I mean, I'll tell you again. Two women did that in Philly. I asked two women, what are you looking for a man? Both of them had lists. In the world, you got to be funny, you got to be confident, you got to make more money than me, you got to make me laugh, you got to be strong, but you got to be sensitive too. You got to know my wants and needs. He got to be emotionally attached. He has to be in touch with his femininity. I mean, they go down a list and what they want a man. It's as if they put themselves in a position of God. God made man in his image. God told you his characteristics. It's not that many. It's basic. It's right on the paper for you. But the woman says, no, I want a man like this. I want it to be this, to this, and that, this, and this, and that, to that. So you created a man and fashioned it in an image that you want him to be. You made that man. Oh, why? Because the woman is God. That's why you serve the Queen of Heaven. That's why you serve Diana, Ashtaroth, because you made yourself a God, and you fashioned man in your own image and what he should be. That's why you have a list, because why? You recreate a man in your image. You have successfully created man, and that's how these weak men walk around, these boys walking around, soft, effeminate, in touch with their femininity. I remember I went on a panel, and I had a conversation with a bunch of men. These guys are so weak, they say, yeah, man, it should be in touch with their feminine nature, and they should be attuned, they should open up to the woman. I said, stop the press, hold up. No. I said, absolutely not. A man that's in touch with his feminine nature or is in touch with his emotion is a woman. That's what that's called. That's called a woman. And society was able to successfully change the role and the nature of a man into a woman. And that's why the black man's not respected. Where's the black man's government? He don't have a government because he's too weak to have one. Where's a black man's bank? Where's his money system? Where's his infrastructure? Where is it? It's nowhere to be found because he's too weak to get one. And a black woman sees that. Now, go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 15.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it.
Men are supposed to be productive. I'll say it again. Men are supposed to be productive. Producers. Workers. Hardworking. Men are not supposed to sit at home or be stay-at-home fathers. House husbands? Yeah, house husbands. That's what they call them. I was watching a show. This is my favorite show right now. Bears Grill Island. And on the show, they had a black man. This is season, I believe, 5. Yeah, I know. I like it. So in season 5, the black man's on the show. He was the first one to leave. And the reason why, because he had to survive. Now, I don't subscribe to the things that they were eating on the island. I'll just be eating fish all day. So in order for them to survive, they eat many unlawful animals. Like one thing was snake. They would, crocodiles, yeah, snake. Oh, you been watching it? Yeah, my man right there. You've been watching eating crocodiles, snakes, crabs, all type of unlawful foods. So the black man, I'm not saying this right, it's wicked. He was a vegetarian rather than staying vegetarian, whatever. It's on an island. Could have ate fish. I would have ate fish and tried to, or just die. Or just tell, listen, I can't catch fish unless it's successful. This might as well take me off this island because I'm not eating snake or crocodile. So he was a stay-at-home husband. He did the shopping. He did the cooking, he did the cleaning, and what did he say? And he watched over the kids while the mother went to work, or the wife went to work. So he was a stay-at-home husband. In the show, he killed a snake, and he cried for 2 days straight. Oh, he cried. He said, I killed a snake. He says, I can't bring myself. I can't believe I killed a snake. Oh, hell no. Man. my bowels troubled me. My cogitations, like Daniel says, my cogitations troubled me within. I sweated. I was troubled. I had nightmares. When I heard this, I froze. I stopped. I wish at that time I could go back in history. I could go back in the past, stop time, go back to the past, and choke him until there's nothing left in him. This man cried for 2 days, and he says, I can't do this. He said, I miss my wife. I miss my kids. I miss taking care of my kids. I said, whoa, this is the weakening of the black man. None of the men were stay-at-home husbands. I don't even know how you call that. Stay-at-home husbands? That's what, house husbands. Oh, gosh. So he had to leave because he was emotionally troubled. He couldn't take it, and he missed his kids. I don't know why I went to that, but I just want to tell that story because I was troubled watching it the other day. I just want everybody to feel my pain and where it's coming from. So that's why. Man was created to be productive, to be providers, to produce. Go on. So get me Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6. So not only were men created to be productive, to be providers, to provide for the household, but man was also, you know what? Before you get that, give me the next clip. Jordan Peterson.
Saying men should be dangerous. By dangerous, that implies I should be ready to threaten someone, to hurt somebody.
No, you should be capable of it. But that doesn't mean you should use it. There's nothing to you otherwise. Like if you're not a formidable force, there's no morality in your self-control. If you're incapable of violence, not being violent isn't a virtue. People who teach martial arts know this full well, right? If you learn a martial art, you learn to be dangerous, but simultaneously you learn to control it. Both of those come together. And the combination of that capacity for danger and the capacity for control is what brings about the virtue. Otherwise, you confuse weakness with moral virtue. I'm harmless, therefore I'm good. It's like, no, that isn't how it works. That isn't how it works at all. If you're harmless, you're just weak. And if you're weak, you're not going to be good. You can't be, because it takes strength to be good. It's very difficult to be good.
Saying men should be.
So, you see that? That's why I read earlier when it says God is terrible. God is a man of war. He's powerful. Something being weak or exhibiting these different feminine qualities, these characteristic traits that we gain in society, is not a state of humility, in which they say meekness is not weakness. Humility is not weakness as well. Humility is just your ability to submit to the laws of God. Humility as well as meekness takes strength as well as discipline. To discipline your thoughts. The weak people in society that are more feminized or weak in nature are more dangerous. These men have no control over their emotions, have no control over their anger. It takes a strong man to be formidable, to have control over himself. A strong man, that's why he says you got to be dangerous. And dangerous meaning you know how to hold your own, you know how to protect. You're not weak in nature. You don't have a weak look. You don't have weak attributes. You don't walk weak. You don't talk weak. You don't carry yourself weak. You don't talk weak. These things you cannot possess and be successfully married or even guide a nation. You have to be formidable. You have to be strong. And which he says dangerous. Dangerous not mean in the sense of I'm going to go and kill people. No, we're talking about dangerous meaning nobody would think to ever cross your people. Nehemiah was dangerous. Nobody thought to cross Nehemiah when it came to sell on the Sabbath. They understood that Nehemiah was serious. He was austere. He was formidable. He was unwavering. Nehemiah did not take anything from anybody, and he did not allow people to go against the laws of God. He stood for righteousness, and it takes mental fortitude. It takes strength. It takes discipline to go against everything. Get me Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6.
Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6.
Read.
And he answered and spake unto me, saying, This is the word of the Lord unto Zerubbabel, saying, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts.
Because Zerubbabel, get me 1 Ezra chapter 3, verse 4. The reason why God had to tell Zerubbabel, not by might, nor by your power, but by my spirit, because Zerubbabel was a formidable force. Zerubbabel was masculine. Zerubbabel was dangerous. Zerubbabel was a martial artist. He knew how to handle himself. He knew how to protect his household as well as his nation. Nobody crossed Zerubbabel. That's what he told to the Levites or the priests. Go to your governor and give the burnt offerings, or go give these lame sheep with one eyes, lame in the legs. Because God understood that everybody knew the characteristic and nature of Zerubbabel, that he was not one to play with. So nobody tried to cross him based upon how he carried himself. He know how to fight. He know how to defend himself. Some of you brothers don't know how to defend yourself. Some of you brothers don't know how to fight. Some of you brothers never been to the gym a day of your life. You let yourself go. You allow yourself to get man boobs, titties. Not only are you not masculine in terms of your mentality, but also physically. So not only there's masculine characteristics, but there's a physicality that comes with the biology of a man. That's why a woman, when she looks for the characteristic traits or just the attributes of man that she looks for, she always looks for a man tall, dark, or handsome, or some man that has some type of strength. She's like, oh, look at his abs. Because why? A man's body strength, his structure, shows that what? He can protect me. So some of you brothers got to go to the gym, start working out. Like I said, body exercise does profit a little, but it does profit it. Go on.
First Ezra chapter 3, verse 4. Then 3 young men that were of the guard that kept the king's body spake one to another. Let every one of us speak a sentence.
So Zerubbabel was a part of the royal elite army for Persia. What you call this the mortals, 10,000 army men. So Zerubbabel was in the top 3 elite, meaning you had the king's personal guard. In order for to be the king's personal guard, you have to know how to kick ass. You have to know how to fight or defend yourself. You're talking about you want a wife, you want to be the protector, the provider. A protector knows how to protect. Meaning you know how to defend. You got to be trained. You got to learn how to protect yourself, protect your family. You know how to protect yourself. You know how to learn how to fight. Some of you need to go to lessons. Some of you need to go to the gym. Some of you need to go to workout. Some of you need to learn boxing or martial arts, something so that you know how to protect yourself. You got to learn how to, not only that, get me John chapter 18, verse 10. John, 18, verse 10.
John chapter 18, verse 10. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and smote the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus.
So Peter, when they tried to take Christ, his first reaction was to cut off the soldier's ear. Even though Christ said it wasn't time and he healed his ear, the fact of the matter is that Peter knew how to protect himself. Now, this was the head disciple. Christ said, sell your garments, sell your garments and buy a sword. Meaning, protect yourself. Now, you take that for yourself. I'm not going to tell you how to, but I gave you some clues. Simon had a sword. Simon knew how to protect himself. So anybody that tried to took his loved one, guess what? He didn't allow it. I mean, you have a right to defend yourself. But some of you punch like this. You punch like, you've never been in a fight in your life. You've never been punched in the face in your life. Neither do you know how to use a weapon. Now, like I said, you have the right to bear arms in your state if it's illegal. If it's legal. Now, given the times, there's going to come a time when people are going to try to invade your privacy. Go into your house and spoil it. So the thing is, do you allow people as the protector to take your family, to take your women, to take your children? By all means, no. Your job and obligation as a man is to protect your household, to protect your woman, to protect your children. If you're not dangerous, meaning if you're not a formidable force, why do you want a wife then? You can't fight. You can't defend her. You wonder why your woman don't respect you. You flabby, you fat. You have no confidence. You don't look the part. Neither do you don't fit the part mentally. Neither do you look the part physically. You don't even have discipline in your own eating. You're fat, you're overweight. And if somebody break in the house, you can't even run to the person. If your wife and family's upstairs, you wobbling upstairs, and all the guy got to do is punch you in the stomach. You can't even hold your own. Go to the gym. Get your fat ass up and go to the gym and lose some weight. And learn some martial arts. Learn how to protect yourself. And some of your brothers got not one muscle in your body. You know who I'm talking to. You need to go in the corner and do some push-ups. Some of you have no muscles in your body. Never been a fight, but you want a wife. But you can't even protect her. It's like, damn, you talking to me? I'm talking to all of you. You know who you are. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 1. And notice, anytime, and this is how you know, we attribute a man's body to masculinity and strength. When we do the AI images, or when we draw the prophets and what we think they should look like, how do we always draw them? Armor, to be strong. Why? Because strength is attributed to masculinity. 1 Samuel 30, verse 1.
1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 1. And it came to pass.
And I'm not talking about, you don't got to be a big guy. Come on, you got to have some type of, like my man over here. He's not like a swole dude, but my man got muscles. His brother right here, he got no muscles in his body. Talking about strength. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 1.
And it came to pass, when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag, and smitten Ziklag, and burned it with fire, and had taken the women captives that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captives. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's 2 wives were taken captives, Ahinoam.
So David's 2 wives were taken from him. So you had another enemy come into his household and took both of his wives. Let's jump to verse 16.
Verse 16. And when he had brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad upon all the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil that they had taken out of the land of the Philistines and out of the land of Judah. And David smote them from the twilight even unto the evening of the next day. And there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men which rode upon camels and fled.
David knew how to handle himself. When David's women, when his wife was taken from him, David went there, and not only David, about 400 men, women, and children were taken from them. It was David's obligation. It was his duty to protect his household. David and the men they ran like mighty men and went to the village, and they slew all of them. Because David knew how to fight from a youth up. David, Peter, all of our fathers knew how to defend themselves. Our fathers were warriors. When Laban was taken, guess what? Abraham, along with his household, give me that, if you can find that. When Abraham went to war with all his 300 servants, guess what? Abraham was a martial artist. David was a martial artist. All of our fathers, the mighty men, were martial artists. Zerubbabel was a martial artist. Peter was a martial artist. All of our forefathers knew how to protect themselves. They know how to handle something. Now, I understand that God controls the show. He controls life and death. But guess what? The same thing happened with the Maccabees. He said, yo, should we sit and allow our enemies to come and overtake us and kill us like they did with our brothers and sisters on the Sabbath day? He said, no, we will not allow this. Let us go and fight for our people. To fight, you got to be able to defend yourself. We understand this is spiritual warfare, but guess what? You still have to know how to defend yourself. Some of you are still raised up in a Christian mentality. Oh, we got to, in the name of Jesus, we got to pray on it. No, God is a man of war. And he'll put you in a situation, you get punched in the face, you got to know how to defend yourself. You got to know how to handle yourself. Read.
Genesis chapter 14, verse 14. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants.
When Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, meaning his loved one, your job and obligation as a man is to protect. That's why they say the black woman is the most unprotected woman in America or in general. They feel that they don't have her protected. Now, we understand that that's a lot of time that's of her own doings. But even with Emmett Till, you know, two to three white men, you had an uncle in the house, and they passed the uncle, and they took a 12-year-old out of his household and brutalized him. It was the uncle's obligation. It was his duty as a man to put his life on the line for his nephew. You don't allow another man to come in your household and take that what's yours. Your job as a man is to protect. Even to the point that it takes to put your life on the line, if you have to, for your loved ones. That's the duty and responsibility of a man. Read.
And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants.
Abraham did not waste a minute. He did not miss a step to the point that he heard that his brother was taken captive. He armed his men. His men. All of the men were trained in his household. You cannot be a man in Abraham's household if you didn't know how to fight. I'll say it again. You cannot roll with Abraham. You cannot roll with certain men and not know how to fight, like Andrew Tate, for example. You cannot roll in his circle and not know how to handle yourself. Everybody equally has to know how to handle themselves so that if you get in a confrontation, you're able to hold your own. Because if you have one weak link, then the whole circle is weak. That's why God said those that are fearful, have them stay behind. Because why? It can overthrow everybody. One person could destroy everything. Read on.
He armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. Mm-hmm. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus.
Everybody think, Father Abraham. No, Abraham was you don't understand who Abraham was. Abraham was dangerous. Abraham was a formidable force. You notice nobody really played with Abraham like that? Nobody messed around with him. Jacob wrestled with the angel. I'll say it again. Jacob, when you're reading about our fathers, you're not reading about average men. You're reading about, these men were just regular men. They just, got their wives. They, had a nation. No. Jacob was surrounded by Canaanites. You think he didn't know how to protect himself? How do you think Simeon and Levi learned how to fight? How do you think Simeon and Levi armed themselves and went to a village and slew a whole village? Who do you think taught them? Their father Jacob. Jacob wrestled. Who wrestles with the angel? Jacob did. Abraham knew how to fight. Who do you think Abraham taught? Isaac. Who do you think Isaac taught? Jacob. Who do you think Jacob taught? His sons. All of our fathers were men of war. They know how to handle themselves. They know how to protect that was closest to them. So some of you brothers, man, you got to learn how to protect yourself. Get me Sirach 33, verse 19.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 33, verse 19. Mm-hmm. Give not thy son and wife, thy brother and friend, power over thee while thou livest, and give not thy goods to another, lest it repent thee, and thou entreat for the same again. Mm-hmm. As long as thou livest and hast breath in thee, give not thyself over to any.
So the Bible is instructing us, man, not to give yourself or power, give your son, your wife, your brother and friend a power over you while you live. Read.
As long as thou livest and hast breath in thee, give not thyself over to any. Mm-hmm. For it is that thy children, for better is it that thy children should seek to thee than that thou shouldest stand to their courtesy. Mm-hmm. In all thy works, keep to thyself the preeminence. Leave not a stain in thy honor.
The Bible says, in all your works, read again.
In all thy works, keep to thyself the preeminence.
The Bible says to keep to yourself the preeminence. Don't allow, and when I say keep yourself to preeminence and coming back into your nature as a man, which God intended us to be, the Bible tells us to keep the preeminence. Keep yourself and place yourself in a position of authority. Not to have a woman over you, not to be in subjection to a woman, because a lot of you, brother, you don't keep the preeminence. We tell you, brother, don't deal with that woman until you move out of your house or you have enough money in order to provide. We ask brothers all the time, brother, do you have enough money to take on this? He says, no, I have this type of job. Then you don't need to be dealing with that woman. Because we understand what the Bible says, to keep thyself the preeminence. We're trying to give you counsel before you cannot get counsel. I'll say it again. We're trying to give you counsel before you come to a position in your life where counsel's no longer going to work. Because when you decide to do a backdoor marriage outside of the counsel given to you, there's nothing we could do to fix that relationship. That's why we have not successfully seen a successful backdoor marriage. Right, officer? Why? Because when you don't follow counsel, God makes sure that relationship fails. Read it again. The preeminence.
In all thy works, keep to thyself the preeminence.
The Bible says that all thy works, keep to thyself the preeminence. Meaning, if you don't have a job, then why are you looking at women? Get some Jergens and do what you got to do. And take a cold shower because you're going to be burning for a long time. And put some Usher on. Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. You better listen to the Usher, go into the shower. It's going to be a hot winter. It's so cold. It's going to be a hot winter. I'm going to start using single brothers as my icy hot for the driveway when it snows. Hey, brothers, come over. Do you need a shovel? No, we don't need a shovel. But in all seriousness, the Bible instructs us men to keep the preeminence in all things. The problem is, a lot of you men, and we instruct you, but you go outside of counsel, and you go in, and you're just repeating the destructive cycle that we followed in the world, and you wonder why the black household and a Latino household is destroyed, because you're not following the tools given to us for a successful nation or a successful marriage, because you brothers are not following the counsel given to you. Listen, you need to be sexually disciplined. You have to have temperance. You have to have patience. Don't worry about the lust. Learn how to discipline yourself so that when you're ready, and we're not talking about just psychologically ready, mentally ready. What we're talking about, do you have a job? Do you have a place? Do you have a car? Can you provide? And we always ask brothers, can you provide for that sister? Do you have enough money that's something that you can provide for her alone? And they say, no. We understand times are hard and it's difficult to provide alone. But we suggest, listen, if you don't have that, try to get a career where you could just provide for your own, or we tell brothers, try to live by yourself for a year at least, if possible. Now, some brothers, they decide to live at home, but those brothers has accumulated enough funds before they take their wife so they could buy a house. So we'll ask the brother, hey, how much money do you have in your bank account? Not because we want to be nosy. We want to make sure we've given them good advice. They said, we have this amount of money. Okay, so what do you plan to do? I'm planning to buy a house. Okay, understand. So that I understand. He has enough money saved up in order to provide, as well as he has a good career where he could provide for this household. Some brothers, like I said, they go for mommy, they sleep with the sister, they live together, and he could barely make ends meet. He can't even maintain on himself. But he want to take a woman that he can't provide, and he wonder why the sister doesn't respect him. He wonder why she ain't give him sex. Because you're not fitting the role of a man. Women look for certain things. Women are stimulated mentally. And certain things that they look at for the man that stimulates them sexually. When they see a man confident, when they see a man powerful, when they see a man providing, when they see a man that's productive, they say, damn, man, that's sexy as hell, man. I like how he comes home. He brings the bag home. He provides for his house. Women, they're biologically programmed that way to look for a man. That's why I'm going to play a video. That's why sisters, a lot of times, even though they could be in the top earning, I'll say about the 10%, making $80,000 or more, what do they always say? They look for a man that makes more than them. Because a lot of times, finances dictate the level of submission that a woman is willing to give to a man. It's not right, but like I said, that's how they're wired, brothers. Knowing this, why not put yourself in a position to have preeminence? Read it again.
In all thy works, keep to thyself the preeminence.
The Bible said, in all thy works, keep to thyself the preeminence. Some of you brothers decide to go against counsel. You don't have your own house. You don't have your place, but you decide to move in with that sister. I'll say it again. You decide to move in with that sister where her name is on the title of the house. Now she's dictating and telling you what to do. You try to raise your voice. You try to establish your authority. And she laughs at, nigga, whose house is this? Faggot. Whose house is this? Whose name is on the deed? Not you. Matter of fact, whose car is this? Wait a minute, I make more than you. So you're going to tell, you want me to submit to you? Well, I provide for you. I house you. I clothe you. I give you vehicle. Nigga, who are you to tell me? That's why the Bible says this. Read.
In all thy works, keep to thyself the preeminence.
Make sure your name is on a house. Make sure your name is on a car title. Now, I'm not saying it's not good for the sister to have a job. Sometimes it's hard. Some of you brothers are broke. But you're going to be flirting and playing with submission. She's going to dictate. And let's show you. A lot of times, that's why in some of these Arab countries, they don't want their women working. And the reason being, because a woman's income would negotiate her terms of submission to you. I'll say it again. A woman make money, she would negotiate her terms of submission unto you. If she's the breadwinner, the higher earning, you have nothing to stand on most of the times, unless you're throwing it down, if you know what I mean. And you're operating with your masculinity. That's a very small percentage. But a vast majority of the women, I'll say, their submission is negotiated based upon the terms, how much she makes, measured against how much you make. In Arab countries, they don't want certain women, like I said. It's not wrong for a woman. So a woman can't work, a woman can't get a job, a woman can't do this. I'm not saying that. You can do whatever you want. But I'm saying what comes with that is a masculine spirit in some of these jobs that you have to have. And the more money you make, the more masculine energy you possess. And when money comes what? Money, power, respect. You understand that? That's why men kill themselves to get at the top, because they understand money gives them more options. Majority of women want how much? 1% of men. 10 to 1% of men, they all want that. A man making 6 figures or more, because money commands respect. Because she understands that man can provide for her. And then she can do whatever she want to do, whatever, with girly stuff. I'm telling you, read it. Let's see what I want. Okay, get me Sirach chapter 25. And then you wonder why there's arguments. Because the both of you come into this truth. We teach you. You go against counsel. And then you're still bumping heads on equal playing field. She owns the car. She has the house in her name. But you're trying to tell her what to do. She said, no, nigga, you can't do that. You're trying to drive your car to the Sabbath or to do work with the brother. She says, you ain't taking my car. You ain't doing nothing with my car. You notice how she said my car? When a man makes money, he makes it to bring it home to his household, to give it to them. When a woman makes money, she makes it for herself. I'll say it again, brothers. That's why I said a man doesn't care. That's why I said, brothers, make sure you get your money right. like Kanye said, nah, nah, nah. Wait till I get my money right. Some of you brothers need to get your money right. You need to get yourself right before you get yourself a woman, because you won't have much problems. You can command your respect in the household. But some of you, something like I say, you don't get it right, and you wonder why you're bumping heads. You wonder why this problem. Before I sung the song, what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. And then she's telling you what to do. Oh, yeah, that's why I said it. Because, like I said it, I'll say it again. When a man makes money, he makes it and brings it home for his family and how he can provide. His ability to make money is based upon him providing for his household. When a woman makes money, it's not for the household. It's for her. Oh, it's my money. Women don't share the money with that man. I'll say it again. Women, a lot of times, don't share money with the men. They don't. They say it's my money. You still haven't figured that out yet. And you wonder why there's contentions. Get me Sirach 25, verse 22.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, verse 22. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach.
God is telling you the nature of a woman. She doesn't want to contribute. That's why Kevin Samuels, when he did an experiment, he says, how much you want to contribute to the household? And a lot of times, most of them say none. Sometimes some of them says 30%, 20%. And if they do make money, they don't really contribute. If the man earns, she says, I want a man that makes more than me. If you ask her, the man that makes more than you, she's not going to, a lot of times she won't contribute to the household. She wants that money for herself. She wants the man to buy. Go on.
A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger.
And like I said, this is not for everybody, but this is for a lot of sisters, though. Go on.
Is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach.
A woman that maintaineth a husband, meaning she has a house husband at home that she provides, that she maintains, that her name is on a deed, her name is on a house, the title, on a car. She becomes what?
Anger. Full of anger.
Full of anger.
Impudence.
And she will say, oh, no, don't worry. It's okay. Get yourself together. She's lying. It's not in her nature. She'll tell you one thing. He said, I'll hold it down. But on the opposite side, she's angry because she understands that's not her role to play. And they can't even understand why they're angry because that wasn't the natural position. Go on.
Full of anger, impudence, and much reproach.
And much reproach for that man. Go on.
A wicked woman abateth the courage.
She becomes wicked. And she abateth the courage. She take away that courage or that testicular fortitude for the man to become anything in life because she has the power over that man. And I see brothers coming to the body with their head down, looking depleted, lifeless, soulless, because that woman, that wicked woman that has the preeminence over him, that takes the position of rule and authority, because he didn't want to take the preeminence, because she rules the household. That man every week comes to the Sabbath with his head down, his head low, looking beaten, looking destroyed, looking tired, looking like he gave up. It's only a man could take. It's only stress. It's only so much stress that a man could take. But that woman, the Bible calls that woman a wicked woman. Go on.
Maketh a heavy countenance and a wounded heart.
And we see it. You see the brothers come in. I see a lot of that's there. That brother never looked like that. That brother always had a bright smile to him. But a wicked woman can make a man a heavy countenance. He comes in sad and depressed. They're like, can you talk to the brother? I said, for what? It's nothing I can do. How many classes do we have to? It's called Man Up Monday for a reason. He decided not to man up. So what can I do if you don't man up? You didn't want to take the formula. So now you got to suffer the consequences. Now you fit this scripture. You're a crash test dummy. Read it again.
A wicked woman abateth the courage.
My man has no balls, no courage, no testicular fortitude, nothing to get him through the day. He's living life day by day, wishing death to come. Wishing the end to come, not because he wants the kingdom, because he hates his life. Read.
Maketh a heavy countenance and a wounded heart.
Read.
A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees.
She wants you to come for her because she's the breadwinner. She's ruling over you. You're not contributing anything. Listen, it's supposed to be her money, your money, but that's not the case. That's why a lot of times men don't care about a woman's income because they understand what comes with that. I was looking for it, but I saw one podcast when it wasn't even Kevin Samuels, it was another podcast, and the conversation is, will you submit to a man? And she says, why do I need to submit to a man when I'm independent? When we're both making the same money, we should have equal roles and jobs within a household. Because I make she said clearly, I make just as much money as he makes. So that's why I said it earlier. A woman's submission is negotiated and based upon the terms of how much money she makes. That's a woman's measure. A level of submission is measured by money in today's society. It shouldn't be that way, but that's how society has fashioned our woman to think. Give me Sirach chapter 25, verse 20 now.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, verse 20. As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man.
So when a woman has the preeminence, when she takes that masculine role in the household, it becomes contentious and arguments start to occur within a household. Because of the man not operating within his masculinity as well as the woman operated within her femininity. So now she becomes what? And a masculine woman usually what? Read it again.
As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man.
Now she's arguing back and forth with you, and the reason why she's arguing because she has the preeminence. She has the higher ground. When you have the preeminence, the higher ground, there's less room for argument. There's more room for submission because she relies on you. People usually that you rely on, you tend not to bite the hand that feeds you. You ever see a woman argue with her boss? No. You know why? Because he controls her substance. So she's not going to argue with him. That's why Arab men in certain countries don't want their women working because they understand once a woman gets money, they get that sense of power, and they feel that they're equal with the man, that they don't have to listen. So they change the nature and role, and a man doesn't get what he wants. So that's why a lot of men rather the woman don't work at all so that they can have that level. It's not so much that the man's going to oppress the woman. No, we want to take care of our woman. We want to take care of her. We want her to have the things she wants. But we want her to operate with her femininity. And it takes for a man elevated in his career so that she could work out, she could stay at home, and that he could get what he wants. Then you got to do what you got to do. And like I said, that's not the case for everybody. Some women work and they still have feminine attributes. It's not for everybody, but it's for a lot of you. So Sirach 25 verse 20 again.
As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man.
So is a wife to the words. You don't do nothing. You don't work. You're lazy. You're shiftless. That's why we tell you, brothers, the attributes and the characteristics of a man you have to possess before you move into the woman. You decide not to go through the process. Women look for things like that. He's lazy. He sleeps all day. He doesn't work. He doesn't contribute to anything. He lacks confidence. And they disrespect for you. They disrespect you. They talk down on you. He said, look at you, nigga. You don't make no money. You don't do anything. You don't provide. Why should I submit to you? You don't even provide for me. You don't do anything. You look at it. You weak. You don't. I heard a sister say that. I don't respect him because he's weak. I don't respect him because he doesn't command me. He doesn't tell me what to do. That was her exact words. She doesn't respect him because he lacks masculinity. So what happens? She disrespects him. No man of God will allow a woman to disrespect him or to get. They always say the woman gets the last word. No, that's society. That's a societal quote that the woman gets the last word. This is what the godly man does. Sirach 25 verse 20. Keep reading. Keep reading.
As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man.
But the man of God, verse 25.
give the water no passage.
A man of God doesn't argue back and forth because why? He has the preeminence. He has authority. He has power. He walks in confidence. The Bible says, don't give the water no passage. Read.
Neither a wicked woman liberty to get abroad.
Neither a wicked, the Bible calls a woman that's full of words a wicked woman. A woman that always argues, that always has something to say, that's a wicked demonic woman. That's a masculine energy that comes from a woman. A woman, the gift of silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord. But if you have a woman always running her mouth, always speaking down on you, or you're a shiftless, you're no good nigga, you're nobody, you're nothing, you don't even do anything, you're weak, that's a wicked woman. The Bible says not to give a wicked woman liberty to gather abroad. Don't give the water no passage. But you don't put yourself in a position and power and authority to command that. Respect. You allow your woman to run her mouth, to talk. Malcolm said to his woman when she was speaking right, he said, don't you raise your voice in my house. Just based upon her tone, her approach. He put her in her place. Because a true man of God would not allow a woman ever to raise her tone in his house or to have the last art. A man of God did not argue. I'll say it again. Men of God don't argue with a woman. We don't give our power away to no woman. Now, in the streets, we might have to beat a woman down because we got to beat them to submission scripturally. But in a household, you should have done the work already. She's in the truth. She understands her role and position. If you did it right, you shouldn't have to argue. There should be, I'll say it again, there should barely be any arguments in a household. For what? What are you arguing about? What's the problem? You guys telling me that you can't, that you both of you decided to marry and spend eternity together with each other, but you can't come to some type of an agreement? And guess what? An agreement at the end of the day, whether your husband's wrong or right, at the end of the day, he has the last word. He has the final saying. Now, God intervenes at times. For example, with Sarah, Abraham had the last word. Well, I'm going to get that. Men of God, we don't argue with women. We don't go back and forth. Give me Job chapter 2, verse 7.
Job chapter 2.
And one thing, I don't want you guys to take this class out of context, but some of you brothers will go home and say, you got to listen to me. No, brother. The scripture says, wisdom raineth down skill and knowledge. You got to be skillful. You got to be patient, apt to teach, gentle. You don't got to, listen, I don't always got to yell I don't have to yell in my house, really. Because when I speak, people listen. If I got to yell, it's going to be a problem if I ever get to that. My daughters know, when I yell at my daughter, she breaks down crying because she understands to get daddy to that level, I must have did something that daddy doesn't like. For my wife to get me to the position that I'm yelling, there's going to be serious problems. I should never yell in my house. When I give her order, that's it. Now she said, blah, blah, blah. Listen, but if I don't agree at the time, I said, I don't agree with that. We're going with this. End of discussion. That's it. You want to keep running her mouth? I'm walking away. I'm not going back and forth with no woman. I'm telling you straight up. Read it again.
Job chapter 2, verse 7. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die.
Read.
But he said unto her.
So this is not a normal conversation. Obviously, this is an argument in a house. We need to have abbreviated accounts of what happened between Job and his wife. He said, yo, you still retain your integrity? Because think about it. When everything was going well, the wife was happy. When Job had his prosperity, when he had riches, we had wealth, we had land, no problems, everything was fine. But when he lost everything, his wife said, yo, you still maintain your integrity? Meaning there was an argument happening. What occurred? She said, curse God and die. Read.
But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. Mm-hmm. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? And all this did not Job sin with his lips.
Go on.
Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him.
Notice how It stopped from there. Job said what he said. He said his piece, and that was it. Then he went with his friends. We don't argue. Man, I'll say it again. Anytime a man argues with the woman has won because you gave your strength to that argument. And sometimes, and I've seen this with my mom one time, I saw my father and my mother arguing, and she was getting this feeling. She took him outside of the spirit. I mean, she got him to a low point when he was going back and forth, arguing with her, and then she went into the other room, and she laughed. She said, ha, ha. I said, whoa. The whole point of the argument was to bring the man outside of his character. Because women, not all the time do they want to win. They want to bring you outside of the character because that shows they have power over you. Look, I have power to change his mood. It's a power struggle. You don't give no woman your strength or power. We got enough problems as it is dealing with the world. So you're going to go home and argue? Get the hell out of here. I'm out. Bye. Until you come at me respectfully, we got nothing to talk about. Oh, you want to be disrespectful? Bye. Until you decide to come at me, approach me respectfully, we got nothing to talk about. Bye. Oh, I'm out. I'm leaving. Oh, bills don't get paid. Oh, the house gets repossessed. Bye. Until you give me the respect that I deserve. Ain't no talking, ain't no arguing. Matter of fact, I'm out. Let the house burn. Let it fall. Let it go unpaid. Let my car get repossessed. Let my house get repossessed. I don't give a damn. A man's sanity is more than these materialistic possessions. I'll live in a tent if that's the case. Or go with another brother if that's the case. I will never allow a woman to take away my strength. And some of you brothers haven't learned that yet. You allow the woman to take you there. You argue back and forth. No man, I'll say it again, no man shall argue with the woman. No man shall have to go yelling up in his house. Now, you demand your authority. You say what you have to say. Boom. That's it. Leave it at that. You don't boom, boom. No. That's it. Because when God speaks, nobody argue, do they? No. And we were made after the image of God. It's 12:19. I still got a lot more to the class. So, I don't know. It's getting late. We're going to end it there. Still got a lot more to the class, but we're going to end it there, all right? All right, so that's it with that class, and we're going to end it there. We might continue next week, and yeah. All right, Israel? Shalom. Boys, you got something.